I was organizing documents for my wife's prenatal checkup tomorrow. The next moment, I received a video from her first love. In the video, my wife was wearing black, kneeling at the memorial hall of her first love's father. Seeing their fingers tightly interlocked, her slightly protruding belly was now completely flat. I knew my marriage was now on a countdown. Xiaoli returned 3 days later. Smelling the tobacco scent filling the house, she looked displeased. Lu Xiang, are you doing this on purpose? You know I hate the smell of tobacco. Why did you smoke so much? I glanced at Shun Huayan, who entered the house with Xiaoli. Between his fingers was a half-smoked cigarette. The sight made my eyes sting. I raised an eyebrow. It seems you don't dislike the smell of tobacco. You just dislike me smoking. Xiaoli noticed the cigarette between Shun Huayan's fingers and looked embarrassed. Huayan smokes because he just lost his father. He needs to release his emotions. Xiaoli's defense of Shun Huayan made my heart gradually turn cold. I retorted directly. I smoke because I lost my child who was 5 months away from being born. Xiaoli nervously walked up to me. She held onto my arm. Honey, I can explain. I got rid of the baby because when Uncle Shin passed away, the fortune teller said I couldn't appear at the funeral hall while pregnant. But don't worry, once my body recovers, we can have another baby. After all, I still love you now. I gritted my teeth. Terminating my pregnancy to attend another man's funeral. Is this how you show your love for me? I pulled my hand away. Your love is too cheap. Give it to someone who needs it. Jolie frowned. It's just an unformed mass. Why are you making such a big deal of this? Jolie snorted. Show respect for the deceased. I'm glad I didn't have this child, or they would have been ashamed to have such a petty father. I looked at her. In the past, I might have been angry, but now I feel completely calm. Perhaps losing that baby was the biggest turning point in my mindset. Standing up, his thin lips curled coldly. It's time to end this. Xiaoli glared at me resentfully. Lu Xiang, if you keep pushing your luck, don't bother celebrating our 3rd wedding anniversary next week. I pressed my lips together in silence. Perhaps because I didn't try to appease her, Xiaoli's expression grew even darker. She stood up, pointing at me. Lu Xiang, I know you're jealous of my relationship with Brother Huayan, but let me tell you, we're just siblings. You're the one with the dirty mind who sees everything as filthy. Uncle Shun cared for me the most when he was alive, and I will observe mourning for him for half a month. You better reflect on your behavior. After saying this, she took Shun Huayan's hand and walked toward the door. When Shun Huayan turned around, I caught the sight of his slightly upturned lips. The moment the door closed, I felt an inexplicable sense of relief, completely different from the anger I had imagined. I lit another cigarette. The smoke enveloped itself. I began to seriously examine my marriage with Xiaoli. After 3 years of marriage, I spoiled her into a princess who never touched spring water with her fingers. Whatever she wanted, I would try my best to fulfill. But what was the result? Ever since Shun Huayan returned to the country, he appeared in our lives. Whenever he needed her, no matter how late, Xiaoli would appear before him immediately. The excuse was that this childhood sweetheart suffered from depression, and she had an obligation to take care of him. Thinking of this, a bitter smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Suddenly, my stomach churned. Past experience told me my stomach condition was acting up again. After hesitating for a moment, I still dialed Xiao Li's number. The phone rang for a long time before finally connecting. Xiao Li's haughty voice sounded in my ear. Even if you try to coax me now, I won't forgive you easily. Clutching my aching stomach, just as I was about to speak, I heard Shun Huayan's voice again. Li Bao, how about this outfit? Xiao Li completely forgot about calling me her husband. You look so handsome in that. Let's get all the pieces we tried on. I'll pay by card in a moment. I silently hung up the phone. Before fainting, I called the bank's customer service. Hello, I want to cancel all the supplementary cards under my name. I saw Xiao Li at the hospital. However, she wasn't there to see me, but to accompany Shun Huayan, who had scratched his finger on a button while trying on clothes. Even the doctor said it was just a minor scratch that only needed cleaning, with no need for a tetanus shot or detailed examinations. Xiao Li slammed her hand on the table. Is this how you act as a doctor? He's injured now, and if it becomes serious, I will definitely report you. I demand you arrange more detailed examinations for him right now. The doctor had no choice but to comply with her request and wrote up orders for several examinations. Xiao Li finally smiled. She carefully supported Shun Huayan. As we left the doctor's office, our eyes met. She angrily rushed up to me. Lu Xiang, why did you cancel my supplementary card? I endured my stomach pain. Don't tell me you're letting her buy clothes for your first love with my money. Xiao Li's face alternated between blue and purple. It's just a few pieces of clothing. Why do you have to be so petty? I glanced at the multiple examination papers in her hand. Quick, take your brother Huayan for his examination, otherwise the wound will heal soon. The nurse beside us laughed. Xiao Li glared at me fiercely. Stop being sarcastic here, taking care of BR. Other Huayan is my duty. I nodded. Then hurry up and sign the papers, so your duty can be legitimate. Otherwise, in people's eyes, your brother Hawaiian will forever be the illegitimate third party. Xiaoli was so angry, she was gesturing wildly. The nurse came over. Mr. Liu, you can enter the operating room soon. Xiaoli was slightly stunned. You are sick. My eyes darkened slightly. I didn't respond to Xiaoli anymore. I wheeled myself back to the ward to prepare for surgery. Although the surgery was minimally invasive, the doctor instructed that I shouldn't move my body carelessly for 2 to 3 days. Xiaoli came to the hospital room at night. I brought you some porridge. When she was serving the porridge, I noticed the burn marks between her fingers. My heart warmed. Perhaps she still cares about me. However, when I saw the seafood in the porridge, what little hope I had instantly shattered. I let out a light sigh. She doesn't care about me at all. Otherwise, how could she forget that I'm allergic to seafood? Just put it down. I'm not hungry right now. Xiaoli's expression slightly changed. Honey, I know you're feeling unwell because of your illness, but you shouldn't have canceled my card. How about you restore the card, okay? To change my mind, Xiaoli leaned down. As her red lips were about to touch my cheek, I instinctively turned away. The smell of Shun Huayan's cologne on her was just too unbearable. Xiaoli's delicate eyebrows furrowed in anger. I've already apologized to you. What more do you want? Lu Xiong, don't push your luck. I smiled bitterly. Was rejecting her purposeful kiss really pushing my luck? Then what about her spending my money on other men? Xiaoli angrily threw the seafood porridge on the ground. I kindly made you porridge, and this is how you treat me. Lu Xiong, you're inhuman. I raised my eyebrows, showing a trace of impatience. I'm not the one who likes seafood porridge. Xiaoli froze. She came to the hospital bed hesitantly. Husband, I glanced at her. If you still care about being my wife, stay here and take care of me tonight. After saying this, I closed my eyes. Her phone rang. It was Shun Huayan's special ringtone. Although she tried to lower her voice, I could still hear Shun Huayan calling her Li Bao. Go ahead, he needs you more than I do. I said quietly. Xiaoli pursed her red lips. He misses his deceased father so much. He's drinking at home now. His aunt is worried something might happen to him. Honey, I'll just go check on him and come right back. Before I could say anything, Xiaoli had already run out of the hospital room. I was momentarily dazed. I called the HR director at headquarters. I will prepare to join the planning department at headquarters in 6 months. My mother, who had always lived in the countryside, rushed to the hospital as soon as she heard about my surgery. I didn't want my mom to suffer with me in the hospital, so I processed the discharge paperwork. I took my mom home. Xiaoli came back in the early hours of the morning. She reeked of alcohol. Her steps were unsteady. When my mom tried to help her sit on the sofa, she pushed her away. She staggered over to me. Her tone was full of disgust. Lu Xiong, I've told you before, I hate the elderly smell on your mother. You send her away quickly. It's so stinking. My eyes grew darker and darker. Jolie, she's my mother. Jolie snorted, glancing at my mother, who was visibly uncomfortable. So what? Look at her, she's all dirty. There's a budget hotel downstairs. Take her there quickly. I don't want to see her first thing tomorrow morning. After saying that, she walked straight into the bathroom. Mother sighed. Mom just wanted to see you. Now that you're okay, I'll leave first thing tomorrow morning. No matter how much I tried to persuade her, early the next morning, my mother still left. I walked to the guest room. Looking at Jolie sleeping sweetly, I made my decision. In the time that followed, I stayed home to recover, while Jolie would go out from time to time. I didn't ask about any of her whereabouts. Jolie became somewhat restless. She came up to me. Aren't you going to ask where I've been? I raised my eyebrows and looked up. You're an individual. I can't restrict your freedom just because you married me. Jolie was slightly stunned. These were words she had once said. I remember clearly, during my last birthday when all my friends were present, just as we were about to cut the cake, Shun Huayan called claiming he had sprained his ankle and wanted to see her. I begged her to stay until after cutting the cake. She said those words in front of all my friends. She showed no regard for my dignity. After she left, my friends' eyes were filled with sympathy and pity. Husband, I'll come back early tonight. I calmly organized the documents on the table. Do whatever you want. After saying that, I took the documents and walked to the study. This time, Xiaoli kept her word and indeed came back early. However, from Shun Huayan's social media post, I learned she returned early because he was entertaining friends and it wasn't convenient to have her there. I couldn't help but smile wryly. I act devoted to her, while she acts devoted to Shun Huayan. But what's the result? When it really matters, in Shun Huayan's eyes, she isn't even worthy of being present. What's the point of it all? That evening, Xiaoli deliberately changed into revealing sleepwear. I held back her hand as she tried to place it on my chest. I still have work to handle. Being rejected, Xiaoli became angry and embarrassed. Lu Xiong, don't yell. You want children anymore. I glanced at her. Now is the time to observe mourning for someone else's father. It's not appropriate to do this. Her red lips quivered a few times, but she said nothing more. That night, I slept in the study. The intense work mode began again. Finally, after half a month, I secured a major project. To celebrate, I took my team members to a restaurant. Just as we walked in, I saw Jiaoli and Shun Huayan sitting by the window, gazing at each other. They had ordered a couple's set meal. Jiaoli felt guilty, her tone revealing uncertainty. Husband, don't misunderstand. The couple's set meal is more economical. I was trying to save money. I let out a mocking laugh. Fine, enjoy your meal then, since such economical and money-saving couples' set meals are rare to find. I turned around with my team members and walked into the pre-booked private room. While we were chatting happily, Jiaoli walked into the room with Shun Huayan. My colleagues all knew about the relationship between us three, and their eyes showed disdain when they saw Shun Huayan. Assistant Xiao Wang poured a glass of wine. Since you're our guest, have a drink. Shun Huayan took the glass and was about to drink, but Jiaoli snatched it away. He can't drink alcohol. I'll drink it for him. I put down my wine glass. Leaning back casually on the sofa, I said nonchalantly, it's just one drink. It won't kill anyone. Jiaoli's hand holding the wine glass trembled slightly. I knew she remembered where this phrase came from. A month ago, she had held Shun Huayan's birthday party at this same restaurant. I happened to be dining with clients. Out of courtesy, after seeing off my clients, I came over. It was meant to be just a simple greeting and reminding her to go home early, but unexpectedly, Shun Huayan and her friends pressured me to drink. She knew very well that I had stomach problems and couldn't drink alcohol. However, in front of Shun Huayan and friends, she poured a glass of wine. It's just one drink, it won't kill you. I clearly remembered these words. Xiaoli's face turned slightly pale. Honey, I picked up the glass with my drink, my gaze falling on Shun Huayan. Having a woman drink for you, that's not very manly. My colleagues let out light chuckles. Shun Huayan felt embarrassed and snatched the wine glass from Xiaoli's hand. He swallowed it in one gulp. I let out a soft sigh. What a waste. That was premium pure brew. Shun Huayan broke into violent coughing. Xiaoli felt distressed. She helped Shun Huayan sit down while glaring at me fiercely. Lu Xiong, are you doing this on purpose? I'm telling you, if anything happens to Brother Huayan, I'll divorce you. I laughed, said calmly. Fine, let's divorce. Xiaoli was dumbfounded. It took her a while to react. Do you know what you're saying? I curved my thin lips slightly. Divorce, so you two can be together. Crash. The wine glass fell from Xiaoli's hand. She said angrily, Lu Xiong, take back what you said, and I can pretend I never heard it. I shrugged my shoulders. Can spilled water ever be taken back? Xiaoli was grinding her teeth in anger. Brother Huayan, let's go. Watching their retreating figures, my heart was completely calm, without a ripple. Come on everyone, eat more, it's my treat today. I returned home in the early hours of the morning. Xiaoli was actually at home. She was sitting back on the sofa. Seeing me return, her facial expressions went through many changes. I made you some honey water, drink some, otherwise you'll have a headache tomorrow morning. I picked up the cup and took a big drink. She tugged at her pajamas. I glanced over, it was quite sexy, but I felt no interest whatsoever. It's getting late, I'm going to bed. Xiaoli stomped her foot in anger. Lu Xiong, you're not the only one for me. I gave a faint smile. Indeed, I'm not the only one for her. I ignored her and walked straight into the study. The next day, I suddenly received a call from company leadership, so I hurried to get ready. Xiaoli surprisingly prepared breakfast for me. Won't you eat something? I hastily said there was something at the company. She took off her apron. I'll drive you to the company. This time I didn't refuse, since my car was in for maintenance, and taking a taxi would be inconvenient. Xiaoli's car was my birthday gift to her. However, this was my first time riding in it. I instinctively sat down in the passenger seat, but then I saw the label on it. Reserved for Huayan Gu. Xiaoli panicked. She quickly tore off the label. I just put it there for fun. I nodded. It's your car, you can put whatever labels you want on it. Not knowing what to say, Xiaoli started the car. The phone belonging to Shun Huayan rang. The phone was connected to Bluetooth, so I clearly heard Shun Huayan's voice. Li Bao, don't forget to take the contraceptive pill. Xiaoli frantically stepped on the brake. Her face turned pale. Honey, no, I was too impulsive last night. I opened the glove compartment. I took out a box of emergency contraceptive pills from the very back and threw it at Xiaoli. Take it quickly, it wouldn't be good if there were consequences. Xiaoli's red lips quivered. I turned and got out of the car. Quickly hailed a taxi. Right now, I care more about company matters. After all, she will soon become just a passerby in my life. The communication with clients went very smoothly. I let out a long sigh of relief. At noon, I received a call from Xiaoli. I'm downstairs at your company. Let's have lunch together. Thinking it was time to have a proper talk with her, I didn't refuse Xiaoli, and after giving a few brief instructions, I left the company. I saw Jiaoli's car. When I opened the car door, I saw Shun Huayan sitting in the passenger seat. Jiaoli looked nervous. He was just passing by and hasn't eaten yet. so maybe he can join us for a meal. I shrugged indifferently and sat directly in the back. Throughout the journey, Jolly kept carefully watching my reaction through the rearview mirror. Seeing that I remained calm as usual, she breathed a sigh of relief. Honey, what would you like for lunch? I curved my lips slightly. Anything is fine. After about 10 minutes, Jolly parked the car outside a Chinese restaurant. Shun Huayan followed us into the restaurant, naturally taking a seat beside Jolly. He took off his coat and draped it over Jolly's shoulders. The air conditioning is too close, it might be a bit cold. Jolly glanced at me. Aren't you jealous? I looked through the menu. It's just a coat, no need to be. Jolly's face grew a bit pale. Perhaps to please me, she ordered many dishes and specifically asked the server not to add ginger to the food. Unfortunately, the person who disliked ginger wasn't me, but Shun Huayan. Honey, are these dishes okay? I glanced over. Yes, the choices are good, but they're all things I can't eat right now. I just had stomach surgery, so I can't eat spicy food for now. Ignoring Xiao Li's pale face, I ordered a few light and nutritious dishes. Xiao Li's gaze kept falling on me from time to time. This caused Shun Huayan's displeasure. He said directly to me, Mr. Liu, the money you earn is marital property, yet you've canceled Li Bao's supplementary card. Are you treating her like an outsider? A look of disdain crossed my lips. Since when did an outsider get to meddle in my family affairs? Mr. Shun, even the ocean isn't as vast as your reach. Should I bring the Civil Affairs Bureau here for you? Shun Huayan's face changed dramatically. He suddenly grabbed a fruit knife from the server's hand and held it against his wrist. Xiao Li was terrified. Lu Xiong, he has depression. How could you provoke him? I raised my eyebrows and looked up. If he wants to die, do it far away, don't affect my appetite. Xiao Li's face darkened. She raised her hand. I precisely caught her wrist. Applied slight pressure. Xiao Li fell back into her chair. Your taste is really poor, falling for someone who threatens suicide. Xiao Li's face alternated between blue and purple. She pointed at me and cursed. Lu Xiong, you've gone too far. I raised an eyebrow. Clicked my tongue. Seems you're not the only one who's blind. Xiao Li caught the sarcasm in my words. She stomped her foot in anger. Thanks to your worthless first love for providing us diners with some pre-meal entertainment. People around us chuckled. Xiao Li was utterly humiliated. Brother Huayan, let's go. Their departure stirred nothing within me. After finishing my meal, I paid the bill and went home. The transfer order from headquarters had already arrived. I started packing my things. Xiao Li came back. She thought I would comfort her as usual, but after waiting for a while, she still didn't see any action from me. She stood angrily in front of me. Brother Huayan is now throwing a tantrum in the hospital. I want you to apologize to him. I smiled. What does it matter to me whether he lives or dies? My assertive attitude stunned Xiao Li. Lu Xiong, I've already given you enough face. If you continue like this, I will move to Huayan's place for a while. We need to cool down, and I need to reconsider whether to continue this marriage. I raised my eyebrows, said indifferently, do whatever you want. Xiao Li left, in anger. Half an hour later, I saw her social media post. If he doesn't cherish me, someone else will care for me. The attached picture showed Shun Huayan putting a coat on her. I smiled and liked the post, and left a comment. Wishing you eternal happiness. Within a minute of commenting, Xiao Li deleted the post. She called to angrily berate me, saying my comment made her lose face. I sneered. How can a woman who cheats and betrays her marriage have any dignity? The next moment, I directly blocked her phone number. I thought Xiao Li would be passionately involved with Shun Huayan for a while and wouldn't appear before me anytime soon. But unexpectedly, when I was meeting with the real estate agent to view the house, she came back. She immediately drove away the potential buyers brought by the agent. Lu Xiong, have you gone crazy? What right do you have to sell my house? Hearing these brazen words, I calmly threw the property deed in front of her. The house belongs to my mother. Xiao Li directly drove away the potential renters. She rushed in front of me. With hands on her hips, she angrily shouted, Don't mention that old woman to me, your mother. She's repulsive and makes me sick. Good thing you sent her away, or I would have driven her out myself. She's completely useless. I could no longer contain my anger. A slap, accompanied by the cold wind, struck Xiao Li's face hard. Her cheek immediately became red and swollen. Xiao Li was stunned. I pulled out a tissue and wiped my hand that had touched Xiao Li. How filthy. Xiao Li covered her face, eyes wide. Lu Xiong, you dare to hit me? My eyes turned cold. Insult my mother again, and I'll slap you again. Perhaps seeing I wasn't joking, Xiao Li cried for a while, then sat beside me, biting her lip pitifully, looking piteous and helpless. Husband, it's my fault, I shouldn't have spoken about your mother that way, but this is our home. If you sell it, we'll lose all our memories. I glanced at her. If I don't even want you anymore, why would I want a home filled with Shun Huayan's traces? I pulled my hand away from her grip. Looking at things that don't belong to me makes me sick. Following my gaze, Xiao Li saw Shun Huayan's portrait hanging on the wall. That was where our wedding photo used to be. But Xiao Li had insisted on replacing it with Shun Huayan's photo. Tell your first love to take his belongings away immediately, or I'll throw everything in the trash. Xiao Li became frightened. She immediately took down Shun Huayan's photos from the wall and removed their photo booth stickers from the refrigerator. Including their couple mugs and the small ceramic decorations they made together, everything was hastily thrown into a box. I'll throw them away right now. Just as she finished speaking, the door was pushed open. Shun Huayan walked in, holding roses that Xiao Li loved. I glanced at him, my brows furrowing deeply. How laughable that another man can unlock my home with his fingerprint. Xiao Li stumbled backward. I'll delete his fingerprint right away. Shun Huayan pulled Xiao Li into his embrace. Li Bao, did he threaten you? Don't be afraid. I'm here. I rubbed my temples. Xiao Li pushed Shun Huayan away. Husband, don't overthink it. Huayan Ji and I are just like siblings. Siblings relationship? I almost burst out laughing. Would siblings sleep in the same bed? Xiao Li, oh Xiao Li, are you deceiving me? Or are you deceiving yourself? There are pharmacies everywhere on the streets now. You don't need to stock up so many condoms in the glove compartment. Xiao Li collapsed onto the sofa, her face deathly pale. When did you find out? I let out a light sigh. How come I never noticed before that Xiao Li could be so foolish? Your male lover occasionally shows off your romance. Visible only to me. How could I not know? Xiao Li froze. Standing up, she delivered a harsh slap across Shun Huayan's face. How could you do such a thing? Are you trying to ruin me? Shun Huayan grabbed her wrist. Perhaps he used too much force, as a ring of bruising immediately appeared on Xiao Li's wrist. You said living with him had no excitement, so why not make a clean break with him? Xiao Li forcefully pushed him away, pointing at the door. You, get out of here. I won't divorce my husband. You, get lost. Shun Huayan frowned deeply. With a hurt expression, Li Bao, I'm trying to help you. Xiao Li became anxious. She grabbed my hand. Husband, I promise I won't have any contact with him again. I will live a good life with you. I pulled my hand away, ignoring her distress. Get him out of here. As soon as the words fell, Shun Huayan once again held the fruit knife to his wrist. Li Bao, you can't abandon me. Xiao Li was at a loss. I folded my arms across my chest. Didn't you say you wouldn't deal with him anymore? Now is the time to prove it. Xiao Li was flustered, anxiously trying to pull at me. Husband, he's sick. I promise this is the last time. I'll take him back and return immediately. Please trust me one more time, okay? I let out a sarcastic laugh, too tired to watch their drama unfold. Don't touch me. You disgust me. Xiao Li gave me a long, deep look, then helped Shun Huayan leave. I packed up all of Xiao Li's belongings as quickly as possible. Along with the signed divorce papers, I delivered everything to Shun Huayan's place. She panicked. She never expected that I, who had always been so devoted to her, would really file for divorce. She came to my company every day looking for me. I avoided seeing her, so she waited outside. From morning until night. I ignored her until I had finished handling all my work. Only then did I leave the company. When Xiao Li saw me, she immediately ran over. Honey, you must be tired after working all day. Let's go get some late-night food? There was a hint of uneasiness in Xiao Li's voice. Shun Huayan showed up again. This time he came with anger. Lu Xiong, you made Li Bao sad and upset. Today, I'll teach you a lesson. He raised his fist. I smirked, handed the documents to my assistant beside me, rolled up my sleeves, landed a heavy punch right on Shun Huayan's chest. Shun Huayan fell to the ground pathetically. He looked at Xiao Li pitifully. Li Bao, I'm in pain. Xiao Li didn't even glance at him. She directly grabbed my hand, seeing the broken skin at his knuckles. She wept with heartache. Honey, let's go to the hospital. I pulled my hand away. Let's just sign the papers and part ways amicably. Xiao Li stumbled backward, looking lost and devastated. Do you have someone else? I looked at her with pity. You're pathetic. After saying that, I turned and left. I thought the naturally proud Xiao Li would give up after my repeated indifference. But unexpectedly, my mother's sudden collapse became her last resort. She took meticulous care of my mother. She even knelt down and begged my mother to forgive her past actions. My mother's heart softened. She frequently urged me to give her another chance. I remained unmoved. I directly pulled Xiao Li out of the hospital room. Don't waste your energy. We're impossible now. Xiao Li's tears fell like rain. She suddenly fell to her knees. Honey, I know I was wrong. I finally understand now how you felt when I ignored you before. Could you give me one more chance? I promise I'll take good care of our home from now on, and take better care of Mom, so she can have a happy life in her later years, okay? I pushed her away and looked at her as if she was a joke. Jolie, what makes you think a social elite who's about to take a position at headquarters with an annual income over 800,000 would want a woman who had multiple affairs during marriage? Jolie stood up. I won't give up. I used to be the one chasing after her, but now Jolie has taken that role. She completely disregarded my request for divorce. Instead, she would cook and deliver food to my office every day. Your stomach isn't good. You need to eat more soft, nutritious meals, she said while laying out the food from the thermal container onto my desk. I glanced at it, then casually threw it in the trash. Tears welled up in Jolie's eyes. Do you really have to humiliate me like this? I spent all morning preparing this. Can't take it anymore. I smirked. In the past, to help Xiao Li adjust her body and better prepare for pregnancy, I would personally prepare all her 3 meals plus midnight snacks. I would personally deliver them to her. However, she wouldn't even look at them. When Shen Huayan just mentioned that the taste was a bit off, she threw away all the food I had worked hard to make, right in front of everyone. She even mockingly called me a pathetic man who couldn't live without women. I'm just treating you the way you used to treat me. These words made Xiao Li's face turn pale. She suddenly clutched her stomach. Honey, I haven't rested since my miscarriage. My stomach really hurts now. Can you take me to the hospital? I didn't step forward, my face expressionless. Xiao Li was stunned. She looked at me in disbelief. I'm your wife. How can you be so cold to me? Are you crazy? I couldn't be bothered to answer her. Right in front of her, I directly dialed emergency services. Hello, I have a patient here with abdominal pain. Xiao Li was taken away by ambulance. During her hospitalization, my life didn't change at all. While handling my current work, I was also better enriching myself, just to make the transition smoother when I joined headquarters. As for Xiao Li, though, she kept calling me. I didn't answer any of her calls, until Shen Huayan called. I answered that one. Lu Xiang, Li Bao isn't eating or drinking anything now. Please come quickly. I glanced at the WeChat messages Xiao Li had been sending. There were dozens of them. I left them all unread. Too busy. After saying that, I hung up. I directly blocked both Shen Huayan and Xiao Li's phone numbers. I didn't want to continue this entanglement either, so I hired a lawyer to file for divorce. With those intimate videos Shen Huayan had sent me that only I could see, I successfully obtained the divorce certificate. Xiao Li changed from her dejected state of hours ago, wearing a white gauze dress. She waved at me. The ring on her fingers sparkled in the sunlight. Brother Huayan proposed to me. I smiled faintly. Congratulations. Xiao Li is so stupid it's laughable that she can't even tell if a ring is real or fake. Under my care, my mother recovered quickly. At the elderly's strong insistence, I sent her back to the countryside. After repeatedly asking the neighbors to take good care of her, I returned to High City to pack my luggage. The day before departing for headquarters, Xiao Li came to see me again. She looked haggard. There were obvious pinch marks on the inner side of her arm. Xiao Li threw herself into my arms. Husband, I know I was wrong. I was wrong. I pushed her away with disgust. Miss Chiao, please show some self-respect. That address of Miss Chiao instantly brought tears streaming down her face. I crouched down in pain. Why? Why won't you give me a chance? Lu Xiang, are you trying to drive me to death? I curved my lips slightly. A cold smile appeared on my face. I called the police directly. Hello, someone has trespassed into my home. Xiao Li's eyes widened. Are you not forgiving me because I'm with Shen Huayan, and you feel unbalanced in your heart? If I make Shen Huayan disappear, could we live happily together again? Seeing the hint of madness in Xiao Li's eyes, I took a step back. We are now strangers. Xiao Li was taken away by the police. The next time I heard news about her was when I was on a flight to the headquarters. She had married Shen Huayan. However, due to certain reasons, their wedding was very modest. Even Xiao Li's wedding dress was rented. It was said that the couple had a big argument at the wedding venue over the wedding money. Shen Huayan's mother, whom Xiao Li had always been filial to, slapped her in front of everyone. Hearing all this, I just shook my head slightly. Everyone has their own fate. This was her own choice. 2 years later, I returned to High City with my girlfriend to handle some matters at the subsidiary company. My girlfriend and I share the same values. We help each other at work and show mutual understanding in life. This time I returned to C City, planning to bring my mother to live with me, so I could take better care of her. I didn't expect to run into Xiao Li again. She tightly hugged my legs, speaking incoherently. Husband, you came back for me, right? I pulled my leg away with disgust. I already have a girlfriend. Xiao Li's face turned from red to white. You're lying to me, right? I held my girlfriend close. I love her very much. Xiao Li collapsed to the ground. Just as my girlfriend and I were about to get in the car to leave, a man rushed over. He immediately slapped Xiao Li twice across the face. I recognize the man as Shen Huayan. Xiao Li fought with him like a madwoman. I watched the scene coldly, until Xiao Li suddenly pulled out a knife, stabbing Shen Huayan precisely in the chest. Blood splattered onto her face. She ran to me like a madwoman. Husband, I've already killed him. Now no one can stop us from being together. She pointed at my girlfriend. You should kill her too. Then we can live happily. A bystander had called the police. The police quickly arrived at the scene. Jolie was detained. She kept kicking and hitting the police. She was taken away by the police directly. I gently stroked my girlfriend's frightened face. Was she your ex-wife? I smiled faintly. I kissed her on the lips. A stain on my life. 2 weeks later, my girlfriend and I left High City with my mother. At the same time,